in some ways our roles are not that different, are they? And I think possibly to some local people, I could imagine over some issues people who know of your existence, and I think one of the problems that the city has is that there isn't enough profile really for the neighbourhood coordinator and for the service delivery areas and all that sort of thing. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in helping people to focus on that and be aware of that. But for those people in the know, I can imagine there are often situations where people might think, right, I need to tell someone about this. And do they ring you, or do they ring one of us?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't always be clear at all. Yeah. I don't know whether that's a bad. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking the differences of role isn't probably not all that obvious.
No.
And I suppose I tend to think, is our role about political decisions and about making those political decisions, which in the end comes down to resources and what resources go where. But then you're also, in another kind of way, battling for resources all the time. And it's not as if we have the power. We're only one voice on one committee about those sorts of things. So it's not as if we're actually making the decision. We're arguing the case. Yeah. Which at the end of the day is what you're doing as well. Yeah. So.
Except that, ultimately, I'm answerable to you, and you're answerable to the local people through their votes. If they don't like it, then they can vote you out, but they can never vote me out. You can sack me.
Yes.
But so I think that's right that you have, in terms of the power structure, that you councillors have the power and the officers serve. I do believe in that as a democratic principle.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I just suppose being on this side of it now, I'm aware of the frustrations of sitting in a meeting with 20 other councillors and arguing for this to happen, and basically not happening because not everybody agrees with me about everything. So I think you're right, but I think there are plenty of frustrations in the political process. Now, when I'm Mayor of Salford, elected Mayor of Salford, no.
In the year 2076.
Oh no, that's when I get my chance. Yeah, so just in the being ordinary Mayor. But if we had elected mayors, I don't think that's something. That's not something we're going to do. The official line. So.
How do we each involve the other in a developing initiative?
I mean, I suppose there's danger that we'll go on about the buses a lot. I suppose that's an example.
We might as well get on to that, haven't we? Go on.
The buses.
The buses. Let's sort the buses out.
I mean, that's an example of, First Manchester withdrawing services from Churchill Way. I saw a clear need to do something about this. So my first thought was to ring you, because I felt it was a local issue. Now, other councillors contacted our fellow councillors on the GMPTE to say, this is something that needs dealing with in that environment. And partly it's that I left messages on answer phones and they didn't get back to me. But partly it's also that it isn't, to my mind, it was a local issue.
Yeah.
It has wider repercussions, clearly. But in terms of the actual sorting out Churchill Way, that is a local issue. You're the local neighbourhood coordinator. So therefore, let's see if we can do something about this. And although I was talking in the political realm as well, and talking at Labour group and we as ward councillors have been involved in collecting a petition, things like that. You got on with the job of bringing people together, which is a good example, really,
Yeah.
of your role, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, when you phoned me and you suggested the cameras, I think that was the Wednesday you phoned me and they'd withdrawn the buses on Monday, so I knew that they'd withdrawn the buses, and I was just really, really unclear as to what I could do
Yeah.
and how I could do it, you know, because in my job up until then I'd never included the buses. Never included the buses
They're just
at all.
there, aren't
Yeah.
they? They just happen.
So when you phoned and you said, well, the cameras could be a solution to this problem, and I think that, you know, if you could get a meeting together with some of the key players and could you follow it up, I could see where you were going and think, yeah, that is the way that this problem will be resolved. And I just did that. I just phoned people up, said that it was your suggestion, and having you there gave it legitimacy. Councillor Salmon has said,
Right.
Councillor Salmon, it's not me
Yeah.
as an officer trying to set the agenda. It's
Yeah,
you.
right.
Councillor Salmon has said, and this is it. Can you do this? Can you do that? Will you come to a meeting? And it was all yes, yes, yes. So, and I think that would have been a lot more difficult if it hadn't had that backing.
Right. Yeah. If it was just Jim, the neighbourhood coordinator, it's like, who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Because people get me mixed up with home watch schemes and all that.
I'm sure they do.
They do, yeah. So, yeah. So then it just seemed to go from there. But there is something. It was confused, wasn't it, by that political dimension?
Yeah.
By
yeah,
the wider issue of a bus company withdrawing services without consultation, which was came at a very political time as well, in the middle of campaigning for the elections, and that really did muddy up the communication.
And now they're withdrawing buses. Now another company is withdrawing buses from Oddschool, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Which one's that?
The M11, which still goes down Churchill Way, is now been withdrawn from going through Oddschool, and it's going down Regent Road instead of through the estate. So now we've got another no-go area, bus-wise. But it's interesting that it's a different area than ours, and they don't have a problem with Churchill Way. So, anyway.
Really picky.